What invention has done more harm than good? Before I left Facebook, I would try to use it to get in touch with people that I hadn't seen in person for who knows how long. At one point I flew from North Dakota to Texas and messaged someone I hadn't seen since high school and asked if he wanted to go out for drinks or something while I was in the area. I was ready to rent a car and drive 2 hours from my planned vacation point just to see someone I thought I was friends with. Not a single one of the people I tried to do this with, excluding family, actually got together with me in person. I have zero regrets for deleting my Facebook account and only talking to the people who took the time to call me or answer their phone when I called. That's probably a smaller part of the problem. Most people are ignorant. All of us are, in the grand scheme. But before social media, most people knew they were ignorant. They didn't think they knew more than doctors or engineers or historians, etc. They were well aware that they did not. But now, the second an incorrect idea pops into your mind, before you can even have time to think I don't actually know anything about this topic, you are already engulfed in support for the incorrect idea, so you never, ever have to be wrong about anything. 24-hour news media. It is absolutely one of the most toxic, miasmic, foul things we could have ever come up with. Edit, holy moly, this went bigger than I thought it would. Never had awards on comments before, thank you kind internet strangers. Also, while I have your attention, call or text someone you care about. You never know when they could use to hear from you. Edit again, you folks are amazingly thoughtful to have sent me this many awards. It's really helped brighten my day quite a lot, smiley face, thank you so very much. That's so heartbreaking. I always say to my friends that I wouldn't have survived at school. We had something years ago called Bebo, I never used it. I was victim of revenge porn and did something, I'll let you use your imagination, with a boyfriend in the woods. His friend was there and decided to take a picture. He then plastered it on Bebo. The entire year of my school saw it. I was bullied. There wasn't any services to report this, nor was it illegal. It pretty much ruined me and I moved schools. I was lucky I had a chance of a fresh start, kids sometimes are not so lucky. It was great for a hot second, but it went south fast. First it was cool, we can keep in contact with people and network and meet new people through the internet. It quickly turned to let me find people that think exactly like me and share only the best parts of my life, giving off the illusion that my life is perfect, and get depressed because I know it isn't and everyone else's life seems perfect because they're doing the exact same thing. Oh, and I'm going to harass people I don't like anonymously or with my name, because what are you going to do? I don't really blame the guy for merely inventing something. I imagine if he didn't invent leaded gas someone would have, and if it wasn't us it probably would have been Germany during that time. The CFC thing is interesting too, since if I'm not mistaken the other coolants at that time were super toxic to breath or extremely flammable, like propane. It's easy to think this guy was a dick now, but honestly back then that stuff was vital until technology evolved and developed more environmentally friendly if not less effective alternatives. Criminalizing sex work. It has created an environment where sex traffickers can prosper, knowing that they're far more likely not to go to police for help. Customers also know this and use it as a way to use, abuse, and not pay. They know they're not going to the police to say I was beat, abused, and not paid. By making it legal, or at the very least not charging them for a crime if they come forward, they will feel safe to do so, and more POS can get locked up and sex workers will feel like they are afforded more protections. We went from using plastics where their properties were a requirement, to designing things to use plastics when safer and more sustainable materials would do just fine. Glass and metal are both infinitely recyclable, unlike plastic. Aluminum is ridiculously abundant on Earth, making up 8.1% of the Earth's crust while iron makes up 5%. There's a lot of interesting things we can do with silicon as well. Using metallic elements instead of replacing them with plastic everywhere would have also incentivized space exploration, in particular asteroid mining. If we retrieve enough mountain-size lumps of pure metal, we could cause the price of metal to fall low enough that it's as cheap as plastic is now, if not cheaper. Christ, the sheer amount of homework we used to have was staggering, and the teachers were unsympathetic to us. As far as I'm concerned, the homework from my class is your priority, was the usual response from all of them. It was especially brutal in homework-heavy courses like math or foreign languages. Never mind extracurriculars, after-school jobs, and the teenage need for, sleep. The crazy thing is that we were always warned that it was preparing us for college, but honestly, no course I ever took in college was ever even remotely as work-intensive as some of my high school classes. Even the mandatory math classes I had to take didn't assign homework after every class, and they were meeting only 3 days out the week. I don't believe there's a single invention that was bad. It's the nature of humans to be smart and figure shit out. Imagine that nuclear energy was the discovery of only one guy, and we neutralized him before he could discover and invent nuclear stuff. It would only be a matter of time before someone else did. And what if in that alternate reality, the political climate was different? What if it actually led to a nuclear war and the apocalypse? We are, again, smart. I think no technology should be forbidden or hidden, because it will be discovered by people being smart anyway. We should face our own discoveries, adapt to it, educate people. Change our society if need be. Social media sure changed our society a lot. Being mad about it or against the idea won't change that fact. Without a doubt, the Haber-Bosch process. Arguably the most important industrial process to ever be discovered, and nobody knows about it. It's a way of producing ammonia fertilizers from atmospheric nitrogen using tons of energy, so farmers no longer had to rely on the natural fertility of the soil to have good crop yields. The enactment of this process 100% enabled the human population explosion from 1.6 billion to 7.7 billion in 2018, and in effect all of the ramifications that such overpopulation has inflicted on everything else. Over 50% of the nitrogen in our bodies comes from this process, and synthetic nitrogen fixation has surpassed natural fixation in the last couple years, fucking up the coastal oceans all over the world in the process. If you want a cherry on top, take a look at Fritz Haber's Wikipedia page. A real piece of work. He spearheaded chemical weapons development enthusiastically for the Germans in WWI, and people think his wife shot herself as a result. He didn't seem to care. I don't know, I get where you're coming from, but I played organized baseball since I was 5 playing t-ball, and I really enjoyed it. I made a ton of friends. It kept from fucking around and getting in trouble as much when I was in high school. It kept me active, and gave me a hobby to enjoy. My parents didn't really force me into though. They wanted me to get involved in some sport when I was young to be active and socialize. I got to choose what sport that was. It was like that for most of the people I played with. There were really only a handful of kids like that whose parents were living out their failed sports dreams vicariously through their kids. Leaded gasoline. It solved the problem of engine knock, which was already solved by putting ethanol in gasoline, and it poisoned an entire generation of people. There's some speculation that the boomers are such an arguably psychopathic generation because they were lead poisoned from their times in the womb. People have known about the link between lead poisoning and antisocial behavior for a long time. GM didn't care. There was profit to be made from leaded gas. Fun tip: the same guy who invented leaded gas also invented the CFCs that damaged the ozone layer. Talk about someone who should have been a blowjob. Thomas Midgley Jr. promoted CFCs for refrigeration. They were mostly inert, mostly non-toxic gas that had a low boiling point and were a much better substitute to ammonia or chloromethane. He didn't know the effect they had on ozone. What he did know was about the effects of his other great invention, leaded additives for fuel. He promoted it heavily as a solution to knocking, and to be fair, it did work, but it also caused brain damage, as lead is super toxic. Midgley never went near tetraethyllead, except when assuring journalists it was quite safe. He was well aware of its neurotoxicity. Buy a vintage Gillette safety razor. For just a $50 initial purchase and like $15 on blades, you never need to worry about not being able to shave. I inherited a vintage one that sells in the $200 range and was terrified to use it. Well, I got over it and now I get amazing shaves. I bought a bulk box for retail with 500 blades for $15, free shipping, off eBay, and have been shaving daily for 5 years and still have half the case left. No more plastic water either, it's all wrapped in paper. Stop posturing. It annoys everyone, including that girl whose attention you're showboating for. Also, it makes it obvious you don't really know what you're doing. Just be yourself, but with upgrades. If you're not funny, stop cracking jokes. If you know you have skinny legs but a nice chest, stop wearing shorts and put on a tighter t-shirt, i.e. learn to dress for you. Develop a passion. Things are way more accessible nowadays. There are online tutorials for nearly anything you could think of learning about. It's an amazing age to live in. Don't be boring. Most of the things that men are told, as boys, are girl things are actually basic human being things. If you head into adult life thinking tasks are gendered, you're not only missing out on things you might enjoy doing, you're also expecting free labor from your partners, which is not cool. If you don't already know how, learn to cook, clean up at least half decently, launder and iron clothing, basic clothing repair, learn to sew on a button and how to patch a worn spot, how to put together a dressed up outfit, including any special grooming, how to take care of your shoes, and probably most importantly, learn how to really listen to someone when they're talking. Get those basics down and you're now ahead of the majority of young men out there. Full independence in this sort of way? It's attractive AF. Problem: you're lonely and have little or no experience with people. Goal: to make friends and or find romance/sex. Advice: be patient, understand it's a work in progress. Go out and socialize with people. There are social groups you can join. When talking to people, try not to judge them on your expectations. Just simply get to know people and let them get to know you. The more you do this, the easier it gets. Eventually, you will find people who you have things in common with and really enjoy each other's company. The sooner you start investing, the better. If you don't want to think about it, set up an automatic transfer to a target date retirement fund or total market index fund at a brokerage like Vanguard that has low fees. Even $50 to $100 a month starting when you're 18 will have a big impact later on. Once you have a job with 401k matching, invest at least the amount that it takes to receive the full employer match. That's free money for you and reduces your immediate taxable income. Beyond that, it's arguably worthwhile to balance it with the Roth IRA, which is tax-free upon distribution. Relationships are a marathon, not a dash. You have to start at the beginning. They take work and effort, and if you are looking for shortcuts, you're doing it wrong. Even when you don't get something right now out of a relationship, how you conduct yourself will impact that relationship later and other relationships, because people talk about you and your personality when you are not around. One bad interaction is nothing, but a bad reputation is everything. Even if you never talk to someone ever, you can one day be good friends if you make an effort to say hi to this person. Even if it shocks them that you talk to them so much that they don't even say hi back, they might shock you later by saying hi back the next time your paths cross. If you have a crush on someone, let them know. It's better to know than to live life wondering. They also tend to appreciate the straightforward communication. It's only weird if you make it weird. I'm 31 and just figuring this out. Self-conscious feelings often held me back, and it's been amazing. Also, if you've been high or under the influence of anything for most of your adult life, give it a break. It's better to know what being sober-ish feels like and return to our usage with that lesson, than to never know at all. You may find life is a lot better without. I was a stoner from 17 to 31 and it's been great to let it go. My tip to get a perfect steak. Heat your pan at least 5 minutes, use little oil, you can add a bit of butter. Then put your steak and wait 2 to 3 minutes until it's sealed. Bonus points if it start getting sweat, bloody, then put the salt, how much? A pinch, then flip the steak and repeat the same process. Wait a minute before serving, put some pepper and you're golden. Cooking time may be a bit more depending on the thickness of the steak and the point you want. This gets you a nicey medium rare steak. To make something simple to accompany, wash some potatoes, and poke them with a fork, put on the microwave 4 to 5 minutes per side. So 8 to 10 minutes total depending on the size, use medium size. You don't have to peel them, you can slice them and add some salt and butter. Be ready with some salad, red wine, and dessert. Enjoy. Don't open up about your feelings. As much as she says she wants you to, it's complete crap. It's all just used to hurt you later. One day you'll be sitting on the couch with her, after letting her vent to you and giving her a caring tentative ear, and the minute you start talking about your day she checks out and goes on her phone. And judges you. And tells all her family and friends. She'll start treating you like a massive burden for even just saying, "Oh man, rough day at work but I'm glad to be home." As if it's somehow just unloading some massive emotional baggage. You know, I used to think this, but I realized I was drawing these conclusions from a mindset of taking what I can get. Beggars can't be choosers. I now know better. Women who actually do shit like this are not worth your time, even if they seem like the only game in town and your only chance at a relationship. You and any other man out there do not deserve to have to bottle up your feelings to feel safe with the woman you're with. That's not typical female behavior, that's just an insensitive asshole who happens to be a woman, and people like that should remain single, until they can learn to be better partners. There are all those standards of what it means to be a real man that you might find around the internet or society, regarding behavior, interests, appearance, etc. Don't bother with that, strive to be a good human. That's far more attractive and fulfilling than running after some unfitting standards that benefit nobody. Sure enough, some elements of true masculinity like confidence and responsibility are good and clever, but then again, that's being a good human. Nobody can make you less masculine than you are, smiley face.